Produced by Purdue Extension Economic and Community Development and the Purdue Center for Regional Development, with support from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs.
Take a good look at them, for who can doubt they're one of the most sought-after resources of this century. Young entrepreneurs barely out of their teens, running their own companies, owning and operating them, because when it comes to building prosperity in today's business climate, there's a whole new set of rules out there.
The world changed since when my father got a job and stayed there for 30 years. People don't do that today. There is a trend today toward independent workers. And that realization, I think, is coming true with a new generation that is highly social and is highly entrepreneurial.
Managing a career is nothing new to Fort Wayne's Olivia Fabian. A competitive gymnast at the age of 12, she's been self-employed as a skating instructor and a martial arts trainer. Clothes, though, are her passion. The more flamboyant, the better. Yep, that's her, dressed like a Girl Scout.
I was raised by a costume mad scientist. I really value costumes, and I think that every day you should have fun. And just because I own my own business doesn't mean I have to be a stuffed shirt and have to be, serious all the time.
Quirky, yes, but confident too. So when it came time to take that love of oddball apparel and turn it into a business, Olivia and that mad scientist mom of hers, Cheryl, created OFAB Swimwear, which combines a form-fitting bikini with a sheer one-piece top. A daring look for when it's time to be daring, and a modest look when time to be not.
I was not expecting Fort Wayne to rally around a swimsuit company. When we started, people would say, "Why would you make swimsuits in Indiana? You can only swim for 3 months out of the year." And our answer to that was, it's warm someplace all year round, somewhere in the world.
Overcoming objections to a new idea is rule number one for any entrepreneur. In her fundraising presentations, Olivia follows rule number 2 with equal skill. Listen to the customer.
I can still hear her saying it. When people learned I was going to make swimsuits, they came and they told me everything they hated about their swimsuits. And so she'd put a slide up and go, "They all told me they hated this, so I created that." Another slide. "They all told me they hated this, so I created that. And I never thought I'd make guy suits, but all the men said, 'I hate these kinds of suits. Can you create something for me?' So I made that." So what she did naturally was be directed by her customer and continually change her thought about what she was going to do.
What's obvious about Olivia and young entrepreneurs like her is that they have remarkable savvy for their age and a clear vision of what they want their companies to be. What is also obvious is that they are still inexperienced with much they do not know. And that's where the community can help.
You can't do everything yourself. You have to recognize that first and foremost, that you're not going to be able to do everything yourself. And nor is that sustainable if you want to run a company. If you want something, you have to ask for it. If you need help in a certain area, you have to go out and find it.
Being an entrepreneur is a blast. It's frightening, it's scary, it's risky, it's especially if you put all your own money in and you've really taken a risk. And then when it begins, you put your head down and you work hard and you work hard and you work hard, but you're not working hard for somebody else, you're working hard to prove your own success. You call your own shots, and I love that. I love that freedom.
Olivia calls Kathy Carrier a serial entrepreneur, and with good reason. She's created several companies, a consulting firm, and joined a group of angel investors to help jumpstart others. But once the entrepreneurial bug that motivates her was as new then as it is to Olivia now.
I just think they're at a different place than I am. I'm just further along the entrepreneurial journey. I try to identify what their challenges are. And once identified, I try to comb back through all the experiences that I've had and that I've learned from others and try to point out salient stories and facts and things that are relevant to their world. Olivia and I have been working together just to identify where I love sales, so I'm trying to help her figure out how to get her products sold in volume.
Being around people that are like, yeah, you're gonna sell 1,000 swimsuits to one account. You're not going to sell them one at a time. Just like that expectation is more valuable than somebody, sitting down and meeting with you and encouraging you. Of course you're going to do it.
No question is too stupid to ask. Don't act like you know everything, because if you're talking to someone that really could seriously help you and you're embarrassed to let them know that you don't know something, then you're going to miss out on some really good information. So I think just being honest and speaking up is probably the best advice that I could give someone.
And in spite of years of success, Kathy relies on mentors of her own and knows what works.
Over the last 30 years, I've had hundreds and hundreds of mentors, I think. And most of them, they pat you on the head and say they're proud. Well, that doesn't do any good at all. I don't want to hear that.
You don't want to hear just how great everything is, because that doesn't help you. You want people to be honest and help you to grow the business with the right steps.
So I think being a good coach or a good mentor or a good friend or a good helper requires you to say things that aren't necessarily going to be popular or well received, and you've got to be able to point that person in the direction of information that can be useful at critical points of time.
Now, we can also help sometimes by just simply advising them it's not going to work.
When a community prepares to champion a vibrant entrepreneurial culture, it must also be prepared to accept that failure sometimes occurs when new business people try new things. That, too, is part of the growth process.
If you think it's always going to be perfect the first time you put it out there, you're wrong. It's never going to happen. The best successes come after somebody has failed once or twice or 3 times. You learn from that.
What might be most surprising to civic and community leaders is that attracting, encouraging, and promoting young entrepreneurs does not carry with it a steep price tag or a lot of public works projects. Much of it is state of mind.
When I started my business, every single person I asked for help and advice from helped me out.
Fort Wayne has been so great to help us get going, and there's a whole group of people, and I would think that there would probably be the same in many communities, that are willing to help people move ahead, be successful. Even people that wear Girl Scout sashes can be successful entrepreneurs.
We have like a small army of highly motivated, creative individuals that will stop at nothing to see us succeed in whatever we're doing.
A lot of it is metaphysical attitude that you create. Having that attitude of openness, be willing to go give before you get, and a lot of the things have nothing at all to do with having the infrastructure in place or programs in place, but just the right attitude and the mentors around to go help people.
I don't think there is any community that is totally absent of the entrepreneurial spirit. I think there are communities where it is encouraged more. I mean, you take, for instance, why do we refer to the Silicon Valley as a good example? There's a kindred spirit among and between the people who make up that geographical area of our country. There are certain communities, for instance, Warsaw, Indiana. Well, Warsaw is kind of the orthopedic mecca, maybe even of the Midwest, maybe even of the country. And if you were to really do a careful analysis of what makes Warsaw, Warsaw now today, it's the number of businesses that have been created by entrepreneurs that have collaborated and have learned how to support one another. It takes a community to make something like a strong entrepreneur come to life.
I can't sit here in a big seat somewhere and direct entrepreneurship will take place here today in this manner and here today in that manner. It has to grow through the leaders who encourage entrepreneurs from the bottom up. And if I'm a community that does that, what you're going to get is always going to be a success because it is what grows organically.
Experienced self-starters like Kathy Carrier have a wealth of resources and a list of contacts as long as a ticker tape. But for those novice entrepreneurs just starting out, there's a need for more structure, an incubator, like Northeast Indiana Innovation Park. Olivia Fabian runs OFAB Swimwear from here. Courtesy of some startup funds and office space, she won as part of a business plan competition.
This location is a place where they can come and get specific assistance such as coaching, helping them develop their business plan, helping them perhaps to develop a market for their product, giving them advice on how to get financing.
More than that, it's a place where entrepreneurs can just get together, share concepts, and learn from each other. Another Fort Wayne location is Steve Frank's Founders, a free internet gathering place where young business people exchange ideas, down to the writing on the wall here, a business model traced on a window pane. But for any community, how do you recruit entrepreneurs in the first place?
And I think that is answered by saying, they're probably here. There's always going to be somebody there in the community that has the drive and the wherewithal to be entrepreneurial. It's a matter of kind of finding them and just kind of gently nudging them a little bit and saying, it's your job, and have the entrepreneur bring in others. Because you as the economic developer aren't going to be able to lead that community on as well as the entrepreneur can.
Maybe people within themselves need to realize that if they would speak up and have an idea and not keep it to themselves and start seeking out, that maybe the opportunities would all grow that way. And you'd realize you had entrepreneurs where you didn't even know.
So you've identified young entrepreneurs ready and willing to create and contribute. You're beginning to nurture them. But once they're successful, what's to keep them in the community? Again, the answer might be surprising.
You would expect part of this answer to be, there'd be lots of venture capital and so forth. I'm going to take the opinion here that if the leaders and the entrepreneurs are there, that will come. I would say that it's less a matter of me going out and finding, big, chunks of resources, but more a little bit here and a little bit there, and some advice here and some advice there, and some encouragement here and some encouragement there. I think what we want to avoid are maybe some of the patriarchs of the community, the folks that might sit there and decide who is going to get the resources, who are the people that are doing it right. Everybody's doing it right. Go let them succeed, let them fail, see what happens. And so the perfect community has that blend of all sorts of new people here starting out in an environment that's very open and giving, with a lot of people that have been there and done that, and are making it all happen. These communities grow over time. These communities grow as entrepreneurial talent grows up, matures, and then those people, like Olivia, become the leaders, and they become the mentors.
I like Northeast Indiana, and I'm passionate about doing fun things to make people want to stay here and attract people to come here. The cool thing about working for yourself is looking to the future and the opportunity that I could potentially create wealth in my community and create jobs for people and bring them together to do something cool while helping our community. I know we're just a little swimwear company, but I think that we can do some cool things.
If there's one final thing our experts agree on, it's this. In spite of outstanding collegiate entrepreneurial programs such as Ball State or the Kelley School of Business, Indiana does not do a good job of what Steve Franks calls nudging entrepreneurs into leadership roles.
We should be grabbing those kids out of all of those programs. We should figure out who those graduates are and get them into a common community. And you need to fund that initiative so that there's people who are actively working at identifying entrepreneurs.
I would buy a 5-block area of buildings, and I would house a campus that was composed primarily of entrepreneurs. Maybe there would be places like the Innovation Center Incubator in there as well. Maybe there would be lots of bars and restaurants and shops and this and that sort of thing. I would create this little entrepreneurial enclave. It's kind of like Disneyland, if you will, almost, in the midst of this community, and populate that puppy with entrepreneurs.
To get them here, put them together in common space with common solutions and funding. I really like that idea. I might have to go do that.
Spoken like true entrepreneurs.
produced by Purdue Extension Economic and Community Development and the Purdue Center for Regional Development, with support from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs.